Lenah,
Yes.
in a recurrent expenditure that there is, corruption lies in there. We've just established 720 billion shillings in one financial year just gets lost. And that is based off information that was given by a sitting president at the time. No one has objected that. So when we talk about recurrent expenditure and corruption is in there, how is that affecting the return on investment to taxes that Kenyans pay?
Corruption is really the biggest threat to the development of our country. And I actually agree with you that if not for corruption, our development would have really been spurred, almost like we would be 10 years ahead of where we are right now. And corruption is so bad, or it stinks to the extent that even if today an investor would want to invest in a country like Kenya, in a place that is riddled with corruption, it is very hard for them to be able to make that decision of investing. So it automatically chases them away because, number one, they're not guaranteed of a return of investment. They're not even guaranteed of fairness in the market and all those kind of things. But also when it comes to corruption, I blame three categories of people. And number one are the state officers, the people that have been mandated with the duty of carrying out different functions by the people. That includes now our leaders. Then secondly, I blame the institutions that are mandated with fighting corruption. And then thirdly, I blame the people. Actually, sometimes I always, when people talk about a system, what is this system? Because based on my research, I believe that a system is enforced by the people themselves. The same thing with corruption. Corruption is deep-rooted because of the people. I can tell you for a fact that if today we were to go and arrest a particular leader who has stolen money, and the government cracks down on that leader, a group of people from his home area will come short and say, no, you guys are targeting us as a community, all this kind of rhetoric.
But the government should not care about what the people say, but to give justice to the people of Kenya, because the government's role is not to respond to the feelings of individuals who are supporting and perpetrating an injustice.
I agree with you, absolutely agree with you. And I believe strongly that is the ideal world, and it's what we should have, because that's what the Constitution demands. But one of the things that I've always said about our Constitution is that our Constitution is more progressive than us as a people. Our Constitution is ahead of us. So in as much as that may be the thinking, that may not be the thinking of someone down there. And in a country whereby also political realities come into play, it becomes very hard for us to be able to achieve what you've just said. But anyway, let me finish my point. One of the things when it comes especially to the appropriation of the budget and the spending of this budget that we've just had read by the Cabinet Secretary CS John Badi is, there are safeguards that have been placed in our Constitution to make sure that the money that is allocated goes into the respective purpose. But we also have lapses that I believe are more occasioned by institutions that are supposed to ensure or to enforce that which has been dictated by the Constitution. Like now, for instance, our Constitution dictates, when it comes to the chapter on public finance from around Article 201 and below, our Constitution dictates that for any money, that there is no money that can be withdrawn and even distributed without an act of parliament, a legislation on appropriations. That is number one. It further says that there is no money that should be withdrawn without the approval of the controller of budget. That is okay. It goes and says that after the spending, the Auditor General has to come and audit and say and make sure that every money that was withdrawn has gone into the appropriate use. And then from there, if it hasn't, that is now where the institutions come in. And we have seen actually the various committees in the Senate and the National Assembly calling leaders to come and grill them on how that money has been used and how expenditure has been used. But beyond that, do we see any kind of steps that have been taken to ensure that, that once someone has been found guilty, that there's a step toward it, that there's a step beyond that? We don't. And that's where I have a problem when it comes to enforcement. Because the necessary institutions, if EACC has been able to carry out investigations, where it has carried out investigations, then the next thing ought to go to prosecution. But do we always see prosecution? We don't always see prosecution. So that's why I say that corruption is the biggest threat to the development of our country. But each and every one of us has to be able to play a role.
So how's the
ending
government
corruption.
let down Kenyans because you talk about the ODPP, who is an appointee of the president. That means by virtue of pecking order, the buck stops with the president as an appointing authority of the ODPP. So when we say that we don't see prosecutions happen, should the president as well be called out for not going down on his appointee?
Absolutely. But you see, also, is the fact that as a president, I need, there is separation of powers. And every institution...
How about you go with separation of corruption? How about you guys can steal, but I can't?
Allow me say that.
Okay.
Everyone has their role to play. And, sometimes we put everything on the president. And I understand, because at the end of the day, he's the head of the government. And he ought to be able to check, ensure that everyone carries their mandate as they are expected.
Okay.
But you see, ODPP also has his role. I believe strongly that everyone should be able to carry their problem. They need to be able to